It is possible for ordinary people to choose to become extraordinary, said Elon Musk, a phenomenon of the 21st century, who's looked upon to by every teenage dreamer of big dreams. Well, all you young aspirants, you are at the right place at the right time. Here is your opportunity to become something extraordinary, something bigger than you ever dreamt of. Your journey towards your life goal begins here. I am Sutej, a 10th grader from AKR JP Nagar, wishing an enterprising morning to everyone present here at the CMR AKR Virtual Career Camp 2021-22. We have the privilege of having an award-winning business coach, founder of global coaching platform, Success with Savitha, Ms. Savitha Nanjappa, for the expert talk session. Ms. Savitha is a certified coach who wears many feathers on her hat. She has coached over 300 businesses, impacted more than 3,000 clients, and has over 17 years of rich experience in corporate India, having worked with brands like Airtel, ICICI Prudential, Tata Docomo, Novo Nordisk in sales, marketing, and customer experience. Her podcast, Success with Savitha, has over 175,000 downloads and growing, and has featured some brilliant guests on the show. Before we begin, let me remind you of the house rules that we follow in every session. Please keep your camera switched on and your mics on mute. I am confident that while you listen to her inspirational talk, there will be a lot of questions you would like to ask. Please send these questions to Q&A on the chat box so we can forward the same to our expert during the Q&A session. Without much ado, I welcome Ms. Savitha today on behalf of the CMR and the AKR family.
Thank you so much, Sutej, for that wonderful introduction. I hope to keep that spirit going. Thank you for that. And thank you, AKR and CMR Group, for having me today. It's my honor to be here in this career fair and with all these young minds. It's inspiring, and it's a give and take. We always take away from having those conversations with young people. So I'm looking forward to this session. And yeah, let's get started. As we get started, when the team at CMR got in touch with me, I was saying I'm going to do this presentation and then, we'll go into Q&A. But as I started to think about the presentation, here's what I realized. There's no one size fits all when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? Because it's such a vast, wide topic. And how do we share the stories of whether it's the innovators, the creators, the dreamers? Because business or entrepreneurship, what is it about? It's taking an idea which is in your head, only you can see. You're the only visionary who can see it, and you're turning it into reality, right? Because it could be a service, it could be a product. And I always say this, there are two types of businesses. One, where you're meeting a need in the market, right? A desire, or you're creating a desire. That would be things like luxury products or travel and tourism and experiences. The other is where you're problem solving. Now, we all know which are those businesses that are evolutionary. And I know Sutej spoke about Elon Musk, who's somebody that even I think has been a visionary in the modern day, right? Somebody who decided that I'm going to send people to space and actually made it happen despite failing over and over and over and over again. And the only thing that has turned this into a reality is one man's vision, which nobody could see. Just like in the old days, there was Galileo. Nobody believed him. So it's one person's vision and you've got to stay with that. So that's what entrepreneurship is. And I don't think a presentation would do justice to this topic of entrepreneurship, but I'm here to answer all your questions. And I've been looking at some amazing questions that you guys have been asking me. Sutej, do we go into questions, or would you like me to talk about the businesses that have changed the world, right from the Wright brothers who allow us to fly today to people who are putting us in space today? Do we go into questions? We can go ahead and start taking them.
Mama, I think we can move into question, the question and answer. Yes, ma'am. So
sure, let's dive into it. Yeah, we'll get started. Do I start with the question I
Yes,
have?
ma'am.
Or you're
So,
going to?
I would like to really thank you for the informative and inspirational speech. I thank you on behalf of the audience for sowing the seed of entrepreneurship in each one of us today. We are really indebted to you. We now commence our Q&A session. Friends, I request you to post your questions in the chat box to Q&A. I have the first question for Ms. Savitha. Ma'am, how can an institution help build up the spirit of entrepreneurship from the school level?
I think this is a great question. So the person who asked, and I think a lot of institutions today are trying to build. I mean, the fact that I'm here talking about entrepreneurship to you this morning is the fact that entrepreneurship has become come into the forefront, has become like sometimes a buzzword. We romanticize it a little bit. We think it's all amazing, but like Narayan Murthy said, it takes you 10 years. It took me 10 years to become an overnight success. So for institutions, I think one is bringing entrepreneurship and having these conversations like this today, and saying that it's a career choice. When I was in college, we could either be an engineer or a doctor, and then all other professions were like, oh, not so great, you weren't bright at school. And entrepreneurship wasn't something that was spoken about. And it's not something that the institution can do. It's also about our society, parents, everyone was like, you should get a job and you should get this job with an MNC. That was the thing. But today, what institutions can do to answer this question is you can teach entrepreneurial skills very early. You can teach people how to prototype products and offerings, and this can be done through teaching actual skill sets, which is the methodology of how you take an idea and turn it into an actual business offering. That can be taught as a classroom session, because you just pick up skills. You can't really teach someone how to be extremely successful in business. That's down to the person. But things like running contests, running in-house incubators, having your own school's mini Shark Tank, all of this can really help. Having entrepreneurship challenges can really help for institutions, can help them build up this wave of entrepreneurship in schools. And I think this is a great first step as well.
Thank you, Mom. That was really informative. Now I would like to invite my friend Skanda, also another 10th grader from AK, JP Nagar, for some more questions posted by the students.
Yes, ma'am. So my first question is, where do I connect with a venture capitalist if I have an idea ready?
Okay, great question. It really depends on if you have an idea ready and you have a viable product. Today, there are different ways that you can connect with angel investors. So the first stage is angel investor stage, which is where you get a seed funding if you just have your idea ready. If you have an idea ready plus customers who are already buying, you've got your first 500 customers, you've got your first 1,000 customers, you have validated your idea and you know that people want this, people need this, there's a market for you, then after you raise the seed funding, you go into a Series A funding. But usually in the first level, seed will be from an angel investor. Usually angel investors are high net worth individuals who provide financial backing for small startups and at the idea stage. How can you find them? A great way to find them is today, in India especially, the startup world is doing a lot of work where they have pitch fests. You can choose to pitch. Angel investors get together and they have the options where to pitch to them, and then they can fund you on the spot. Okay, and if my internet is glitchy, do tell me. Is this okay? Everyone's hearing me? Okay, because I got that pop-up. So that's one way. You can look out for these events that happen where they're inviting you to pitch. Connect to angel investors online, and you will see there are many events and conferences as well. Another great way is what you would have heard of as accelerators and incubators. What happens is here you've taken your idea, and then they usually it is free. You join the incubator, you join the accelerator, and then you go through the process of validating market research, creating the offering, and usually at the end of that program, 3-month or 6-month accelerator program, sometimes it can be even be 8 weeks. they put you in touch with angel investors. So that's another great way to meet angel investors and venture capitalists. Usually venture capitalists come in at the Series A phase when you already have a validated idea and there's potential and you have the execution strategy in place. That's when angel venture capitalists like Sequoia and all of them come into play.
Thank you for your useful insight. I have another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How can students practice entrepreneurship? Is it best to go solo or in a partnership? And what are the best sources of finance?
Okay. You can practice entrepreneurship at any time in your life. All you need is the idea and then to spend time to figure out if there's a market for it. Okay. If it's really solving a problem or you're meeting a need or desire in the marketplace. Should you go solo or partnership? That really depends on, your structure, your model, who did you ideate with? Some people do really well as solo entrepreneurs. Some people like to have a partner. It really is very personal, I think. And often you'll find students who study together, two of them get together and then they create a business. That happens. So it probably happens organically. So there's no should or not. And what are your best sources of finance? Like I said, in the early days, you're bootstrapping. And bootstrapping means you have either saved up or you have friends and family giving you some seed money to get started. Once you have your idea validated, once you have this like completely fantastic idea, it's working, you've done the research, you've tested it out, you've got your first 100 customers even, that's when you can go and start talking to investors. Now, having said that, should you go for a bank funding or a mini bank loan? Ideally, I would say no, because you don't want to start out with having interest and all of that, right? So that's one thing. The second thing is there are many funding opportunities. There are two companies recently which I've seen, Velocity and Club, KLUB, where they, based on your idea, based on your business model, they will give you a small loan. So that's something that you can use as well. But however, don't forget, the government of India, government in whichever country you're in, usually also have startup schemes, right? Where you can apply for interest-free loans initially, or you can get a small amount of funding from them. And there's a lot of governments, a lot of state governments, and then the national government as well has funds, has created opportunities for you to get finance. So you want to explore all of that as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Over to Sitej again.
Ma'am, entrepreneurship is about taking risk and moving on your feet all the time. How do you understand and prepare for a calculated risk?
Think that, oh my God, this is the best idea ever, right? The time that it comes for you to test, which is when there's something that we call as MVP in the startup space or in a business, right? Which is creating a minimum viable product. Now, you want to create that, even if it's a service business, even if it's something as simple as a side hustle that you're starting, where you're going to say, I'm going to help business owners with, say, managing their social media. Even if it is that, you want to create your first offering, which is a minimum viable product. And then you want to take it to who you think are the people who need it, like your target audience, your market. Okay. And you want to test if they will actually adopt it. Would they buy from you? Will they hire you to work on? Yeah. Have I gone off? Somebody, okay, shall I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that is when once you have this minimal viable product, that is when you now know that you've tested it and you have some people who are willing to adopt it. Now, at this point, you are still testing and you will continue to tweak your offering. So I think that once you know that there are some buyers for my product, for my offering, that is when you say, okay, this is working. So I would say if there's a calculated risk, then that is it. You've tested it out. There have been a few people. Now, the next risk for you to take is whether you go all out, spend on your marketing, build the product out fully. That means you have to invest. And then will, 1,000 people buy it, and then will 10,000 people buy it. So I think there's always going to be an element of risk, but you can, if you're doing the MVP process, you're doing your market research right, you're listening to your customers, you can actually mitigate most of this.
Thank you, Mom. Can you please share your journey with startups? Maybe one of your success stories?
I have mostly prepared to, we'll talk about a recent startup that I worked with who had already got their Series A funding. It's called Dr. Vaidya's. So I started working with the founder. Now, this was actually Dr. Vaidya's has already been a brand, it's an Ayurvedic brand, which was present in the 70s and 80s. Now, what they did was they took it and modernized it with packaging, with making products which are more, like there was something for immunity, which came right in time during COVID, right? And then they made products that people will want to use now, versus, because mostly the problem with Ayurvedic products can be that people think it doesn't work immediately. It takes time, and I don't want to do this. But the marketing strategy was to teach and educate the audience, the new age audience, who did not probably believe too much in Ayurvedic products, and then bring the products that they can apply to their life every day immediately and show results. We recently had, so this business had 100 crore exit, 2021, last quarter of 2021, I mean the third quarter of 2021. And now it will continue to grow, obviously. But the fact is that what was successful about it was, they understood really well that for the product to succeed, customers had to be educated. Right now, the difference here is either you're bringing a product that is already there, right? So there's already a brand of chocolate. You are now bringing a new brand of chocolate. So what you would need to do is, you don't need to educate the market about why you should eat a chocolate, how it's great. No, you don't need to do that. But whereas if you're bringing something brand new, you need to educate. And then you'll go through that phase where you have some early adopters who try it out. But for you to get the scale, right, you need to educate. So most businesses go through that process of educating and telling them why this is good for you, how it's good for you, and that's how you grow your market, which is what I think this brand did really well. And they created products which are very, very something that you can use. Like, they created a product for if you've had a late night, high energy product. So everybody's partying, everybody's having a late night, and then they have this morning high energy booster kind of thing. So that worked for them. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Mom. Thank you for that. Mom, Skanda has a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
Yes, Mom. What is the difference between business and entrepreneurship, and what courses do you suggest if I want to become an entrepreneur?
Okay, so I think it's the same. Basically, it's like dentist and dental services. Okay, dental services is what you offer. What you are is a dentist. Okay, and same thing, you do business, and the business can be anything, right? It can be a service, it can be a product, it can be usually it's it's either of these two. Entrepreneurship is a different word for running a business, right? Now there are serial entrepreneurs. Now a business can be a single entity. Like, this is my company and this is the business, this is Zomato and this is a business. When you say entrepreneurship, it is me participating in this, like creating and building of this company, me participating in creating services and offerings for the marketplace. So that is an entrepreneur and entrepreneurship. So I think that's the difference. And your second question was, are there any courses?
Yes, ma'am. Any courses that you would like to suggest if I want to be an entrepreneur?
I know this is a career fair and we are like, it's an education thing. But here's the thing. There are many courses, right? I'm an MBA myself from Manipal Institute, but you can have all the education you want. Like there's BBM, there's BBAs. It's where they teach you the skills and the practices. Okay, but application is very different. So there's knowledge that is available to you, but there's information that is available to you, okay, in the form of courses, programs, all of that. When you apply it, it becomes knowledge. Okay, so today you also have Google University and YouTube University. Sometimes if I want to know how to edit a podcast, I will go and check. Somebody would have created a video and I'm following it and I do it. So education you can get if you need to commit. Okay, here's the thing about entrepreneurship, a different way to answer this. If you become an entrepreneur, and any human being, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, you need to commit to lifelong learning. Learning doesn't stop when you get your degree. And that's the mistake that people make. Learning changes. You may not be doing a formal course, but that doesn't mean you stop learning. You have to consistently learn. If people like me who graduated in the early 2000s, if I hadn't learned about digital marketing, I wouldn't be in business today. Okay. So I think there are a lot of courses. You should choose how you want to get skilled at it. But then the most important thing is, will you then apply it? Don't just go do a course because it sounds good and then go do something else. But we've all done it. Also, another thing to think about is if you're deciding on a program, you want to decide, do you want to be employed or do you want to create your own business? Because to create your own business, you may not need a course. But if you want to be employed and you want to get this great job where you're going to build capital and then start a business, then maybe you need those degrees to help you. So it's about application. Whatever you learn, whatever course you do, go and apply it, try it, test it, work on a business model. You learn practically and in real time.
Thank you for your informative answer, ma'am. I have another question for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about the hidden cost of entrepreneurship?
Good question. There are a lot of hidden costs, but let me tell you, for a moment, let's park money. Okay, there's always going to be money that's going to be a requirement, which is the cost of entrepreneurship or the cost of anything, right? The bigger cost is your mindset, right? And it's not really a cost. How prepared are you? The cost that may happen is those number of hours that you put in. So you've got to realize that if you decide to choose entrepreneurship, are you willing to do the work? It's not for everyone. Okay, it's not easy. And having been on all sides, right? I've been a homemaker in between when I took a break, when I had my child. I've been in corporate for 17 years. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. And today I'm an entrepreneur. And I'll tell you that if you gave me a tough boss versus running a business any day, right, I would be in the corporate world. So I think those are some of the things that you've got to think about. Coming to money, hidden costs, they're not really hidden costs, but I think people don't really understand what it takes to build and scale a business, right? A lot of people think, oh, you know what, I have this idea and I'll start this business and then I'll get funding. No, you don't get funding because you've got to convince an investor that there is a business model over there, that he will get his money's worth. Nobody wants to put money into your business and lose it, okay? And I feel like initially when we say bootstrapping, people don't really plan well enough. There's a marketing cost, there's a sales cost. And, look at what happened with COVID. You had planned certain things, but some of those things couldn't happen. So a lot of people have lost money. So I think those are the dynamic changes that can happen is where there are costs. But if you want to keep in mind what you need to plan for initial starting costs, which would be everything from setting up, building, creating your brand logo, creating your product. But also remember there are other things like if it's a product business, inventory, the cost to make the product, people, manpower, all of those. And always remember that if you have a product, the biggest costs are going to be making the product and marketing. Okay. If you have a service, the biggest cost is going to be marketing. And that's something that people need to know, that you've got to invest in. People think, I launch my business, I will go on Instagram and create 10 posts and people will start buying. No. Okay. You've got to really understand your product and your marketplace, and then understand that there's going to be there's going to be paid marketing, there's going to be organic marketing, and I need to have a budget for, sometimes when I talk to people and ask them, so what's your marketing budget? They don't have one. And then it's like, you're taking Peter to pay someone else, right? So I think those are the hidden costs. Sorry, long answer. But yeah, these are all the costs of marketing. I mean, cost of running a business.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Over to Priyanka, ma'am, now.
Good morning to everyone. Ma'am, our chat box is very active.
Blowing up.
Yeah, it's blowing up. I'm sure you're moving a lot of young minds today. So the question that I get in my chat box right now is that what does it take to be an entrepreneur? So what qualities do I look inside myself? So these are all children from 9th grade to 12th grade. They have millions of ideas racing inside them. They do suffer from a little of indecision as well. So the question that is asked is that what are the top 3 qualities that I should look within myself to know that I have a future as an entrepreneur?
Okay. That's very easy to answer. If you listen to anybody speak, here are the things. Confidence and self-belief is one. I'll club it together. You've got to be confident about your idea, your vision for what you want to create in your life. It is not about, it's not about saying, I'm going to do this and only do this. And if I don't do this, it's about having the vision. I'm going to create something and being willing to, of course, change. The second thing is, I would say, grit. You've got to hang on. Too many people quit too soon. And too many people, quit at the last mile. Just when success is around the corner, they quit because you're tired and it's hard and you've done so much and you're not finding. So that's the second quality. So confidence and self-belief. Second one is grit. Third one is consistency. It is not, and please write it down and let me say it again. For people at the back, it is not the most talented who win. It is the most consistent who wins. So hard work, yes, I mean, that's a given, right? But can you show up every single day and do that thing consistently? That's the person who wins. So you don't have to be the smartest and the most talented in the room, but you have to be the most consistent in the room. You've got to show up and work at it every day. So those are the 3 qualities. And I think a great quote that comes to mind is Will Smith, the actor, who said that I may not be the smartest, I may not be the most handsome, I may not be the most brightest, but I am the most hardworking. If you and me get on a treadmill together, either I die. That's when we end. That's when this ends, because I will die on that treadmill, but I will not stop. So consistency is everything. And, be willing to accept, listen to advice and change some things. Be open to a change, be willing to be agile. Those are, of course, the secondary qualities, but the first 3 important ones are these. If you've got this, and confidence is something that, let me tell you, you don't wake up and you're confident. You got to work on it. It's a muscle. You got to tell yourself, because business is such that your idea, nobody's going to be believing in it, right? Sometimes it's not even your parents. They won't think, yeah, I mean, we may think our kids are the best. Sometimes your parents also may not believe in it. You have to believe in it. And then you convince the world. Elon Musk believed that he could put people in space. Then he proved it. No one believed him, right? They were like, okay, this guy has lost it.
Thank you, ma'am. If I may sum it up, it's the vision, grit, confidence, and persistence. So don't give up ever. And the next, yes, obviously it does, ma'am. So the next question is perhaps from somebody who has actually made up her mind to be an entrepreneur. So she asks you that if I have to be an entrepreneur, if I've decided to become an entrepreneur, do I have to study business after 12th, or do I pursue can I pursue some other field of study as well?
You can be a business owner at 19 like Mark Zuckerberg, or you can be a business owner in the 50s like Nykaa founder Falguni Nair, who just became a unicorn business, which means valuation over 1 billion. So there's no perfect degree for the business. There's no right age for business. So you can study anything else that you want. Study something that you really love, and then that you could turn into a business. You'll probably find a problem that you want to solve over there. And I think the best businesses are people who experience the problem and then wanted to solve it, right? So yeah, you don't have to I mean, if you already know this is what I want to do, then you can equip yourself, great, but you don't have to.
Yes, that answers the question. The next question is, how can a small young enterprise survive under like the shadow of such big capitalist or industrialists? So what is the key to survival when there are such big competitors, sharks in the field? So this is the next question.
The sharks were also babies at a small enterprise at some point. All that you've got to think about is what is your unique value proposition? What is different from what you're doing, right? Everybody did milk chocolate. What does your chocolate have which is different? Why should people buy from you and not from someone else, right? So I think you don't have to worry about them being sharks. You go and do you, and you will find your market and you will find your people. If you're able to just stay strong on your execution strategy, like you have the right idea and you're staying strong on your execution strategy, you don't grow business overnight and become a shark overnight. You grow in baby steps.
Yes. So the next question that has come up in our chat box is that, do you think that India is heading towards a startup bubble with all the money coming into the hands of startups and high valuation? So what are the chances of success, if young people decide as a startup as a career?
I think this question has already been answered because there have been startups that are hitting of course, the fact is that in 2021 alone, there have been 40 plus unicorn 1 billion valuations, right? Unicorn businesses that have come. We are a country of 1 billion plus people. There's place for everybody. And I think startups is already here and it's here to stay. It's been here since 2015, 16 when it just kind of took off, right? So I think Indians are always going to be enterprising. That's why we are the startup, and Bangalore, of course, that's why we are the startup capital of India. We are always going to be enterprising, and you've just got to go and get going with your business. You will probably succeed on your third business or fourth business, but that doesn't matter. To answer your question, I think the bubble is already here, and every single year we are creating, every other day we are building unicorn businesses. So there's a lot of place for everyone, all players. Did that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, it did. Okay. It did. So the next question is, what is the best decision after you graduate? Should we go for a job first, then execute the startup, or should we just start it right there? So do we need some kind of job experience for startup, if I may?
Okay, so I'm going to be a little biased simply because I did spend time in corporate. I feel like it's always good to have the experience of working in a job. The reason being, you don't have to. It's not a should, it's not a must do, right? But you could, it's about building experience. And when you work for someone else, you learn simple things like processes, systems, being organized, learn about people management, learn about how different teams can work together. Because when you work in a job, you are just one part of the business. You're a spoke in the wheel, right? You're just handling one department, one section, one work. But when you get into a business, you're doing everything. So it helps you to try out a job. I would say get some experience. That's been something that has held a lot of people in good stead. But having said that, it does not mean that you cannot go ahead and create a business on learn. The difference is you have to continue to be willing to learn, or hire the best people to do the things that you're not good at. Okay. But yes, corporate experience, I think, or working in a job will give you a better understanding of how things in the world work, how other businesses work, people management processes, systems, which are very, very important and will hold your own business in good stead. So from the get-go, when you start a business, you're actually setting it up right because you've learned better.
Yes. So experience, obviously, job skills are necessary. So, ma'am, the next question that I have is how to turn a non-profit small business into a profitable one. Are there any key points? to success?
Yeah, I mean, whether it's profit or non-profit, see, usually the mission of the non-profit is always bigger, right? The vision of a for-profit business is, I need revenue, I need to get customers, we are going to become, most startup entrepreneurs think that, most business owners think that I have to make money, right? And in the process of achieving the world, great. But non-profits do not even begin with the profit angle. They begin with, I want to change somebody's life. I'm impacting lives. I'm changing. So it's social causes. That does not mean that you can't make it profitable. Where the challenge lies is that usually for social entrepreneurship, sometimes funding can be a challenge, but there are many seasoned businesses who have set up foundations which support this. So to make it a success, it's the same rules that apply. Same thing as grit, consistency, processes, creating impact. It's just that, it's not always led by, you don't take actions that lead to creation of more income, but you take actions that create impact. So if you can just apply that, you can flip the coin and say, I need to create more impact. It depends on the offering, of course, depends on what the nonprofit. For example, let me explain that a little better. There is a sustainable product company, right? And they want to, there again, I think it's set up as a nonprofit, but they make these sustainable products. It's not very highly priced, but they spend a lot of time educating. They get a lot of grants, they get a lot of support financially. So they're still able to keep the business going and able to pay salaries and take a good income back home for themselves. So you're not just creating impact, but you're also, you are getting a fairly good income for yourself as well. So I think the same rules of business apply to both.
Thank you. So we have one more question asked by a student. So he asks, in school level, how do I develop the skills of being an entrepreneur? I have the idea, but how do I develop the other skills which will help me to be an entrepreneur?
Okay. It's what you learn, it's what you watch, it's who you listen to, it's what lessons you're applying. So if you already have an idea, what's stopping you from launching it? I just read that a 10-year-old has 2 businesses. So, go ahead and launch it, because, let me share the story of Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg's first business was not Facebook, right? It was his 3rd business, I think. The first 2 businesses didn't do well. It failed. But Facebook was at the age of 19. So what happens is, even if you have an idea and you roll that out, you can start small, but take it to the marketplace. Go to market with it. Talk to your audience. You will learn, right, along the way that, okay, this is working. If I do this, no, people don't like it. People want this. So if you keep talking to your audience, to your clients, to your customers, you can keep tweaking your product. So nothing to stop you from going to market. Those are the skills you actually learn on the ground. You actually learn by applying. You learn practical knowledge. A book will take you that far, but it's only application which deepens your lesson. It's like, you want to learn football, you can watch, you can read about football, but ultimately you've got to play the game of football to learn and know whether you're good at it or not.
So it's all about getting there. Ma'am,
get started.
So much. Get started. That's what startup is all about. So I'll just hand the question handle over to Sutej. I think he has a question for you.
Sure.
Sutej, you can go on.
Ma'am, I would like to ask, what are the indicators in entrepreneurship to show that it's not working?
If you don't have customers, you're not in business. It's as simple as that. You can call yourself, you can say, I'm a business owner. You can have any random businesses, right? You can have 10 businesses. If you don't have paying customers, okay, then you're not in business. Then you're not making money and it's not working. Go change your product or go change your market. Maybe you have the wrong product for the wrong audience. That's the only indicator. If you don't have customers, you're not in business.
Thank you, Ma'am. I'd like to thank you once again, Ma'am, for taking the time to enlighten us. We really appreciate your patience and expertise. I would like to request all the participants to please fill up the feedback form posted in the chat before you leave. Gratitude to Ms. Savitha, and thank you, friends, for your participation and interesting questions. See you all in the next expert session, which begins shortly at 10:45 a.m. Looking forward to some great time together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Savitha, from the
Thank
entire
you, everyone.
family. We are really indebted to you. And it has been a great learning experience for the students and also for all of us who are not so young. But it has been a great learning experience. Thank you so much for